Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to continue our Missing Character series, where we'll discuss their lore, their rules on the tabletop, and how they could be implemented into Total War Warhammer. But this time we're not going to talk about a possible legendary lord. Instead, we're going to talk about a possible legendary hero, with today's topic being Ungrol Fourhorn. So without further ado, let's begin. To better introduce this character to those who might not be aware of him, we'll read over his entry into the Warhammer Fantasy Battles 7th edition army book for the Beastmen. Ungrol Fourhorn, Blackheart, Hornsfief, the Spurned One. Ungrol Fourhorn is a being consumed with bitterness and spite. There is no more hateful a creature in the old world, for he has been cast out of the ranks of both man and beast. Such was the scale of his transgressions that he has become something of a legend, and to this day he leads as a self-styled beggar king, marching at the head of a ragtag army of outcasts, mutants and heretics who have nowhere else to run. Ungrol was born with two heads, each of which was possessed of a singular ugliness. The mewling beast was greeted with utter revulsion by his human parents, and so Ungrol was cast out to the woods to die. But he subsisted himself on a diet of grubs and root until he was strong enough to hunt and kill. Ungrol eventually found his way to the Man-Blight tribe, where he joined the ranks of the Ungrol. Though he had only the most rudimentary hornbuds, the fact Ungrol had two heads was remarkable enough that he was tolerated as a beastman. But still, Ungrol had not found peace. The other Ungors were jealous of his mutation, and the Gors mocked him and beat him for having such small horns. Every day was a new set of demeaning and horrible trials for the creature they mockingly called Fourhorn. One dark night, covered in bruises and bleeding from a dozen wounds, Ungrol could take it no more. His tribekin were snoring loudly after a drunken feast which Ungrol was not allowed to attend. He took up a great rock and, approaching the largest of the sleeping figures, bashed his chieftain's brains out. The Bray Shaman was next. Throttled by Ungrol's sinewy hands, Ungrol carved off the magnificent horns of the two tribal leaders with his jagged knife, strapping the chieftain's horns to one of his heads and those of the Bray Shaman to the other. Ungrol capered in the moonlight, gazing with manic glee at his shadow and singing "Fourhorn, Fourhorn" over and over again. Now, to kill a chieftain outside of a challenge is bad enough, but to kill a Bray Shaman is the gravest sin of all. When the tribe found the atrocities Ungrol had committed, they chased him for a night and a day. But Ungrol was ever so sly, and he evaded their pursuit in a labyrinth of dark caves. He still dwells there to this day, consumed by enmity and jealous ire. Over the years, Ungrol's legend has spread, and through channeling his vast reservoir of hatred, he has become a warrior of some repute. Many Ungors have joined his cause, and now he commands a great army of mutants, outcasts and monsters that raid the lands of men, taking out their hatred upon any who they can catch, and keeping their human captives like cattle in the dank depths of the labyrinth of the spurned. A rather sad story of a character being bullied most of his life and then losing his mind. But then again, Ungrol is still an interesting character, a mutant and a beastman who was rather weak in the tabletop in all honesty. His stats were very much subpar for a character on the tabletop, but then again, as an Ungrol he actually had very good stats. Now, you might have noticed that the lore states that he commands an army, and yes, that would be an interesting idea to implement him as a legendary lord, yet I feel like he would be better implemented as a legendary hero. The character is indeed interesting, but should not be considered as powerful as that of a legendary lord, especially since his army focuses around mutants and Ungors. Ungrol's are the weakest form of Beastmen, very much similar to Skaven slaves, Bretonnian peasants and so on. Why would you want a character which would give you an army of that? Instead, this character could be introduced as a legendary hero, which would be there to buff up units and deal a moderate amount of damage, nothing too spectacular of course. Given that Creative Assembly have now changed the way how legendary heroes are introduced to factions, I think that Ungrol Fourhorn could be introduced in a rather interesting way, where instead of being locked to a specific faction unless you confederate with them, he could be available to any of the Beastmen legendary lords. Say at a certain point of your campaign, possibly around rank 10 of any of your chosen legendary lords, a pop-up will appear. This pop-up would then give the player some information regarding the beast known as Fourhorn, after which you would find yourself embarking on a series of quests, eventually ending up at the Labyrinth of the Spurned itself, where you'll eventually have to fight him and beat him into submission. Then and only then would he join your ranks. Ungrol should have average to below average stats for a legendary hero. Instead, it should be focused more around his special rules and magical items. He had one special rule in the tabletop, known as Bruised and Bitter. This allowed him and his unit to reroll Primal Fury tests when in combat, specifically when in combat against the Empire, Bretonnia or Beastmen. This could indeed be some sort of character trait, where any army he joins, both himself and any Ungrors in that army will have increased damage outputs against the Empire, Bretonnia or Beastmen. This could be further enhanced through other skills too, where he could have skills that would reduce the upkeep to all Ungrol forces and possibly even make them a bit more stronger on the battlefield. Nothing too powerful of course, as they are Ungrors after all, but enough to make it fairly noticeable. His only special item in the tabletop was that of the Stolen Crowns. These were the horns that he managed to basically attach to his head. How this worked on the tabletop is at the beginning of each turn, Ungrol should have to take a leadership test. If he passed the test, he would get stronger in melee combat. If he failed the test, he would then instead generate a random spell from the Law of the Wild. What could instead be done is by unlocking the items, say by around rank 8 to 12, he would then get both benefits, getting a little stronger on the battlefield physically and also getting one spell from the Law of the Wild to use as a bound spell with maybe 2 or 3 charges. I believe something like that would be fair and it would make the character a little bit more interesting. Now, the reason why I see this character as a legendary hero more than a legendary lord is because when you compare him to the other missing characters, he is rather lackluster, let's be honest. As I said before, he's interesting but not legendary lord material. You wouldn't want to see someone like this leading an army, but I honestly think that he would work rather well as a legendary hero. But what do you guys think about this character? Do you think he should be included in Total War Warhammer as a legendary hero or as a legendary lord? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.